All right, folks. This is politics slowdown. You have no one to blame but yourselves.
You would tell jokes about things that are impossible and pretend that they're real. But we've moved beyond that because everything is now possible. We live in a world in which if you say that a man is a woman.
Okay, he sounds like he got absolutely sloshed for this. This is amazing.
And a woman is a man. You can't say April Fool's at the end of that sentence. This is just the going wisdom. Everything that would have been in April's Fool's jokes, all those things.
The best part is it's slow enough where the captions are actually like catching his like slip of the tongue. It's been in April's Fool's jokes.
Those are now reality. And if you don't accept those realities, it's because you're a bigot, you bigot. For some odd reason, the Democratic Party has decided that its best electoral strategy these days is to say that boys are girls and girls are boys, and that boys who cut off their penises are girls, and girls who have surgeries
I really appreciate the dono.
Put on prosthetic penises, those are boys, and that anybody who has
Okay, this is way better than I thought it was going to be. This is so much better than I thought it was going to be.
The hormone treatment is also a member of the opposite sex. And anybody who suffers from gender dysphoria is a member of the opposite sex. And that if you, as a parent, say, no, my little boy's a little boy, not a little girl. And if you say public school teachers should not tell my little boy that he's a little girl or might be a little girl, then this means that you're
Red
a
Laura,
bad
that's okay.
person,
Thank you for subscribing,
and a bigot, and a terrible human being. In fact, we must mainline this ideology into every aspect of our educational systems so as to create a better, more tolerant, utopian world. This is the entire outlook of the mainstream media. This is the entire.
This is Ben Shapiro after dentist.
Outlook of the White House now. And
this is half speed.
If Democrats wish to run on the national platform that boys can be girls, girls can be boys, and that teachers should be able to indoctrinate your kids in these perverse ideas that are anti-science and anti-reality,
despite the fact that they're not,
wish to stop them from doing this, that this makes you a bad person. If they wish to run on that platform, by all means, see where it gets you. So yesterday was the Trans Day of Visibility. Trans Day of Visibility, because
look, he had to drink like way too much on Trans Day of Visibility to get through that one. Okay,
as you know, in our society, trans people don't have enough visibility. I mean, they're merely,
solidarity
according
with
to most statistics, people who actually suffer from gender dysphoria. It's a very minute percentage of the population that suffers from gender dysphoria, 0.2% at the very.
It's only a couple of people. It's not that big of a deal, but like, for some reason, it really inconveniences me to treat trans people like human beings.
Yes. And yet we spend outsized attention on this minority of the population. Why? Well, because they are making an argument that applies to everyone, which is that boys and girls do not exist. Right? That male and female are completely arbitrary categories, that they are assigned at birth by doctors. Doctors sit there and then they randomly just decide, you know what? This little being with a penis, I'm just going to call it a boy. Just randomly. For there's no real reason. It might be a female penis. The left has decided that this is their top issue.
Oh my God.
We need more visibility.
And Trima, I'm not aware, but is there a way you can like download this VOD and like smooth out the sound like a little bit? Cause like you can kind of tell it's slowed down, but I feel like if you smooth the sound out, this would just be perfect. A penis. It could be a girl penis.
Visibility is what is required around LGBTQIA plus minus divided by a sign, percentage sign, caret sign, little tilde thing that goes over Spanish letters. We need more visibility on these issues because that's really the thing, isn't it? That we don't have enough visibility and we don't talk about these issues enough, according to the left. I mean, as Matt Walsh points out, we definitely need a trans visibility day celebrated by the White House. You know, because aside from like Pride Month, International Pronouns Day, Lesbian Visibility Day, International Day Against Homophobia, Harvey Milk Day, Pansexual, Panromantic Visibility Day, Bisexuality, Bisexual Awareness Week, National Coming Out Day, National LGBT Center Awareness Day, Spirit Day, Intersex Awareness Day, Asexual Awareness Week, Transgender Day of Remembrance.
God, this is just drunk uncle being irritated that there are holidays he's never heard of. What do you mean? What the fuck is Eid? I've never heard of it.
Pansexual Pride Day, Aromatic Spectrum Awareness Week, Omnisexual Visibility Day, Non-Binary Awareness Week, and Transgender
what
Parents
the hell's
Day.
Kwanzaa? I ain't never seen it.
We don't have any days in which we celebrate transgender people. We don't. And so it was necessary for the Secretary of Health and Human Services to fly the transgender flag outside of government offices with your taxpayer dollars.
So mad. Your taxpayer dollars went to buying a transgender flag.
Your taxpayer dollars must be used to fly a flag that proclaims the lie that gender is completely arbitrary, not connected to biology, and that there are multiple sexes. You get to sponsor this. Aren't you excited?
Sponsor this?
Really important stuff.
I'm 3 minutes in. 3 minutes,
They're
40
going
seconds.
to actually take a flag and put it outside a federal building sponsored by your taxpayer dollars to propagate the myth that sex is completely arbitrary and non-binary. Xavier Becerra, the Health and Human Services Secretary, tweeted on this International Trans Day of Visibility. And of course, Twitter adds its own little emoji of a little yellow fist, which seems racist, holding a transgender flag.
You know what, Ben? It's true. The little yellow fist is a little bit Fellini Fiend exclamation point charity in chat to donate.
I say to our transgender communities, we see you, we stand with you, we will be there for you. For the first time in history, the transgender flag is flying in front of a federal agency.
No, a little race fist. There we go. Fixed it.
The HHS Hubert Humphrey building.
You gotta click the link.
Well, I mean, slow clap for them. I really hope that we fly that Trans Day of Visibility flag everywhere, like at all of our embassies. You remember that the Obama administration.
Oh, fuck yes. Wait. Wait.
This is just too surreal for me.
The gay pride flag during Pride Month outside of our embassies, but only in westernized countries and maybe outside the Vatican just to piss off the Pope. There's none of that in countries that don't really already agree with Barack Obama. And then the White House released a fact sheet, a very important fact sheet in which they declared that trans surgeries for kids are necessary. That chopping the
Who's giving trans surgeries for kids? That's my question.
genitals off of minors
Also, bottom surgery for people who have penises does not involve chopping off their genitals.
is actually a wonderful way of affirming their gender. And that hormone treatments are, in fact, completely fine. Hormone
That's true.
treatments have no long-term effects. Now, the science says...
Well, HRT obviously has long-term effects, but yeah, no, puberty blockers do not.
that we don't know whether hormone treatments have long-term effects. It would seem doubtful to me whether you can use puberty blockers on a child for long periods of time and for this not to have any long-term effect. So the same people who say you have to eat organic at the supermarket because the pesticides on your apple might screw with you.
Ben, you can just wash the apple.
Say that you
Good night,
can
Ninja.
jack up a kid filled with testosterone. You can take a little girl and fill her with testosterone, and it will have no long-term impact. None. It's amazing. Science!
That is what science
According
says.
to the White House,
Yo, Vorkvoid, thank you for the $25 dono, only to piss off the poop Barack Obama.
sheet, the
Oh, wait.
This is just too surreal for me. This is just too surreal for me. This is just too surreal for me.
And
information sheet that they have now put out. This is Mary Margaret Olohan reporting for the Daily Wire. Early transgender surgeries, hormone treatment, and affirmations are crucial for the health of kids and teens who identify as transgender and non-binary, which of course is why your kid at school must be taught that they might be a member of the opposite sex. And if you object, You must never be told about this. Teachers should be able to separate you off from your kid and indoctrinate your kid in stuff that will ruin their life. And you should have nothing to say about it, according to this White House, because it's just so important that if a kid expresses gender confusion at any age, we immediately meet.
Yo, Fellini Fiend, thank you for the $20 dono. Trans people are my friends. Transphobes can catch these hands. Fuck yeah.
Them at the door with some puberty blockers. The White House flagged a resource from the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Health on Transgender Day of Visibility, intended to inform parents and guardians, educators, and other persons supporting children and adolescents with information on what is gender-affirming care. And
by the way, folks, we now have This Is Just Too Surreal for Me added to our sound alerts that you can trigger for 100 bits apiece.
why it is important to transgender, non-binary, and other gender-expansive young people's well-being. Now, gender-expansive, are these medical terminologies? Gender-expansive. Is transgender...
Yo, Fellini Fiend, thank you for the 100 biddies. This cis man would also like to thank you for entertaining and educating while I was out being a wage cuck. You're very welcome. And hopefully I'm being somewhat entertaining and wholesome today. I would really like to hit our goal, but let's see if we can make it happen.
Medical term. Transgender is not really a medical term. Gender identity disorder is a medical term. Gender dysphoria is a medical term. Transgender encompasses everything from people who actually have a condition known as gender dysphoria in the DSM-5 to people who say on any given day that while they are biologically male, they feel female on the inside, without any long-term symptoms of gender dysphoria, without any of the depression associated with gender dysphoria, without any of the other symptoms associated with gender dysphoria. So transgenderism is apparently now a medical term. Gender-affirming care is a phrase used by transgender activists and media to mask the more grisly-sounding transgender top and bottom surgeries, including removing...
It's so grisly to talk about bottom surgery. It's so grisly to talk about top surgery because it involves things that cis people have.
A biological woman's breasts, removing a biological man's genitals, sculpting a thick...
Hey, fun fact, guys. Did you know that biological men can also have their breasts removed? That's something that can happen. These are all surgeries that are done on cis people, except for bottom surgery. Bottom surgery tends to be mostly for trans folks, except that sometimes there are cis people who get genital reconstruction surgery after horrible accidents. That also happens, but nobody bats an eye about that.
Fake penis on a biological woman, facial feminization or facial masculinization, and more. Social affirmation, puberty blockers, and hormones also fall under the gender-affirming care umbrella. Remember, gender-affirming care is an Orwellian term because what it means is biology denying care. They're saying that your gender, what you think you are in your head, is more important than what your body actually is.
Correct. That's because treating that as such leads to better outcomes.
So to chop the penis off of a 15-year-old boy.
No one is doing bottom surgery on 15-year-olds. Bottom surgery is typically only done on adults, so 18-year-olds. Yeah. A 15-year-old would never have bottom surgery.
Is gender affirming. It is not mutilation. It is not creating a false vagina that is going to require that
It's not creating a false vagina like ducks. Ducks have many false vaginas. That's actual biology.
person to put an object in that area to prevent it from healing up for years.
Yeah. What woman would put a foreign object in their vagina? What human woman would ever, I don't know, ever insert some kind of foreign object into their vagina? What crazy. Fun fact, did you know that some women put a foreign object in their vagina daily? Daily? Now we have Ben on half speed. This is what you guys wanted. Oh god.
This is literally what happens when you do these surgeries.
Yeah, well, tampons, that's another example. I wasn't thinking of tampons, but, those would also go in there. I put a dildo in my girly ass each day. Yeah, look, there are lots of foreign objects with which human beings can penetrate themselves on a daily basis, and they can do it in a perfectly healthy and wonderful way.
I know we're supposed.
That's not really a foreign object, though? Wait, a dildo isn't a foreign object? A tampon isn't a foreign object? I'm pretty sure those both count.
To pretend that these surgeries are anodyne and antiseptic. They absolutely are not. They are barbaric in the extreme. Commentators, lawmakers, and people who identify as transgender and people who formerly attempted transitions have expressed grave...
Fun fact, folks. In case you're wondering about the age of dildos, the oldest excavated dildo is around 30,000 years old. So... I don't know, humans seem to have a very long history of putting foreign objects into their hoo-has.
Concerns about encouraging children or young people to explore transitions of any kind.
Yes, inserting an object into your vagina counts as inserting a foreign object, yes. It is not something produced by your body, therefore it is a foreign object. Tampons and dildos both count as foreign objects.
Mary Margaret Olohan. Nonetheless, the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Health, she says, quote, gender-affirming care is a supportive form of health care. It consists of an array of services that may include medical, surgical, mental health, and non-medical services for transgender and non-binary people. Remember, these are not even people who identify as members of the opposite sex. Now you're talking about people who don't identify as member of either sex. You're non-binary. You just say, I'm a genderless widget. And now...
Fuck yeah. We love our genderless widget friends.
Affirmative care is necessary in which we...
You know, Kira, I wouldn't consider your own fingers a foreign object per se. I suppose they could be. I don't know. It's somewhat arbitrary.
In which we pretend that you are right about your assessment of an objective fact about reality. The White House messaging says, quote, For transgender and non-binary children and adolescents, early gender-affirming care is crucial to overall health and well-being.
True.
As it allows
Gender-affirming care leads to better outcomes for transgender patients, i.e., gender-affirming care leads them to not killing themselves, which is generally considered a positive medical outcome.
Allows the child or adolescent to focus on social transitions and can increase their confidence while navigating the healthcare system. So if you cheer a little 5-year-old who thinks that he is a she, or who is pretending that he is a she, or who is confused about he and she, if you just start calling little Billy Jane and putting him in dresses and have everybody around him mirror this instead of, watchful waiting, seeing if he grows out of it, which the vast, 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 vast majority of people who have gender confusion at young ages do.
Incorrect, by the way. The data does not support this.
Instead of that, we have to gender affirm. By the way, Europe rejects this.
Europe does not reject this, by the way. Most European countries have passed laws affirming transgender legality and protections, so he's just wrong.
Rejects the idea that watchful waiting is bad. In fact, the UK, Sweden, all of these places are now moving very harshly away from the idea that social affirmation and hormone blockers and transgender surgeries for minors are a good thing. But the White House is very extreme. Because this is...
Yeah, here. Real quick. In case you were wondering, you probably weren't. Here are the countries that have gender identity laws on the books. We have Japan, the United Kingdom, Spain, Uruguay, Argentina, Denmark, Malta, Colombia, Ireland, Vietnam, Ecuador, Bolivia, Norway, France, India, Canada, Belgium, Greece, Pakistan, Portugal, Luxembourg, Uruguay, Chile, and Iceland. All of those countries, most of them European, have laws protecting transgender people explicitly on the books. So, Ben Shapiro is just incorrect.
They've decided they're going to run on. I don't know.
Greystorm 3, my chat, by raising over $1,000 for charity, my chat unlocked Politics Slowdown, where they requested a Ben Shapiro video at 0.5 speed, which is what we are doing.
Insane world they live in where they think that this is a majority proposition. But really, go for it. According to the White House messaging sheet, these procedures have been shown to increase positive outcomes for transgender and non-binary children and adolescents. No, they have not. No, they have not. The data is not in. There is no longitudinal data on this stuff.
Hey, Ben Shapiro, do you want to know why there's no longitudinal data on this stuff? Because the Nazis burned all of the transgender research when they began to try and genocide trans people. You'd think you'd be somewhat sympathetic to that, Ben, but guess not.
So no. The White House messaging sheet says, quote, gender-affirming care is patient-centered and treats individuals holistically, aligning their outward physical traits with their gender identity. So the White House decided that they were going to celebrate this all the way through. Not only celebrate it, by the way, but also sick the DOJ.
And Trema, I hate you. Just saying.
On any state that tries to protect its minors from the predations of quote-unquote healthcare specialists who wish to hormone block small children.
Hormone blocking was specifically invented to help small children, Ben. It was specifically invented in the 70s to help small cisgender children, Ben. Interesting how you didn't care until trans people started doing it.
The genitals off of teenagers. The justice.
Yeah, irked. Our elders were death camped by the Nazis and then immediately re-imprisoned after being freed from the death camps because it was illegal to be trans and gay.
Department put out a statement issuing a letter to all state attorneys general reminding them of federal constitution and statutory provisions that protect transgender youth against discrimination, including when those youth seek gender-affirming care. So if you are in Arizona, for example, or if you are in a bunch of states that now say that it should be illegal for a 15-year-old
Greystorm 3, you're not wrong.
who cannot consent to sex to be able to consent to having his penis removed.
No 15-year-old is getting bottom surgery, Ben. No surgeon would do bottom surgery on a 15-year-old. Oh no, Greystorm 3, you don't have to apologize. He does sound drunk, and he is stupid.
And his testicles removed? That if you do this is a violation of federal
It's okay. Hello!
civil rights law, according to the Biden administration. By the way, crossing the border illegally, not really a big deal, but you violated federal law if you say that it's bad for a doctor and illegal for a doctor to mutilate a child.
No, that's not illegal. It's not illegal to say that it's bad for a doctor to do that, because it is bad for a doctor to do bottom surgery on a child. Yes. No one is advocating for that.
The Assistant Attorney General, Kristen Clark, for the Justice Department Civil Rights Division says, quote, the Department of Justice is committed to ensuring that all children are able to live free from discrimination, abuse, and harassment. Now, it seems to me much more abusive to say to a 15-year-old girl, you know what? We'll chop off your breasts. We will make you surgically sterile, and we will sew a fake penis onto you. That seems more abusive than saying, you know what, you're...
Ben seems really hung up on this, like, penis surgery for trans men. First of all, the surgery for trans men is so fucking cool, guys. They literally, like, reconstruct the penis. Like, trans men literally have penises now. They're not like fake penises. They're real penises made out of flesh. You know? It's pretty cool.
Girl. I don't know about you. It seems to me that one of those things seems a lot more abusive than the other thing. But according to the left, true abuse is saying to a girl that she is a girl. According to the Assistant Attorney General, Preston Clark, quote, today's letter reaffirms the state and local officials' obligation to ensure that laws and policies do not undermine or harm the health and safety of children, regardless of a child's gender identity. And they say that this violates the Equal Protection Clause. Yes, when they were writing the 14th Amendment right after the Civil War, they were definitely thinking, we need to make sure that little girls can have fake penises sewn onto them.
Yeah, Ben. Although with that logic, surely the Founding Fathers were also not considering automatic rifles that would be available to everyone, or automatic handguns, or semi-automatics, or 3D printing guns, you know? I love how quickly Ben Shapiro is willing to show that entire defense is bullshit.
That was exactly what...
Scrambled eggs. I love when YouTube videos are played slower because it sounds like the speaker is drunk. I know, right? Isn't this great?
They were thinking when they wrote the they weren't thinking about the rights of black people who had just recently been...
Oh yeah, by the way, I'm pro-gun. I don't have an issue with gun rights. It's just like, this is the same argument that against gun rights that lefties use.
Freed from slavery. They were thinking, what can we do about this little boy who might think he's a little girl so we can chop off his... That was really what... That was... 1866, that's what they were thinking.
Actually, Ben, in 1866, there were doctors working on inventing bottom surgery. We know that because bottom surgery was invented around the turn of the century. So literally like a couple decades after that. Also, like, yeah, you would know that if the Nazis hadn't fucking burned research on trans people. Yeah, Ben really has penis on the brain, which puts into perspective this, this little ditty.
In this house, there's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. I said certified freak house. There's some 7 days a week. There's some wet ass P word. Make that pull-out game weak. Yeah. Yeah. You effin' with some wet ass P word. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet ass P word. Give me everything you've got for this wet ass P word. Beat it up, N-word, at your charge. Extra large and extra hard. Put this P-word right in your face. Swipe your nose like a credit card. Hop on top, I wanna ride. I do a kegel while it's inside. Spit in my mouth, look in my eyes. This P-word is wet, come take a dive. It continues along these lines. And it gets significantly more vulgar. Like, a lot more vulgar.
Amazing.
Clearly. And that's what they were thinking in 1972 when they wrote Title IX of the Education Amendments.
Yeah, hey, Ben. It's almost like laws have consequences.
Where they said that we have to treat boys and girls equally, they were thinking boys can be girls, which is clearly why they use language of male and female, because they didn't know they exist.
Hey, Ben, if you're limiting someone else's right on the basis of their sex, like, you can't do that. You're biologically male. That would constitute discrimination on the basis of sex. That is explicitly what it says. And also, the Supreme Court has affirmed that reading of the law. So, go cry harder, bitch boy.
And teens who identify as transgender protect its minors. Might be really bad. I mean, that's insulting. That's transphobic. How dare you say this has anything to do with disabilities? The letter was issued on International Transgender
Great
Day
Storm 3.
of
Thank you for the follow.
Visibility in recognition of the contributions and accomplishments of transgender and gender
Very true, Mary Ann.
non-conforming people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, fine. So Joe Biden gets out there and starts babbling nonsensically about transgender kids. Because again, the idea here is that he is sympathetic to kids, right? That he is sympathetic to this very tiny minority of small children who suffer from an actual condition known as gender dysphoria.
Yeah, Ben, why should you care about minorities? Trans people are just a small part of the population. No one would miss them if they were gone, right, Ben? There's some horrors in this house. Forlorn, thank you for the 100 biddies. The song Sweet Florida? I have not. I might actually stand up. I've been sitting down for a little bit.
Or gender identity disorder. He's sympathetic to them, so your child must learn that boys can be girls and girls can be boys, and public school teachers should teach them, and Randy Weingarten should decide what they learn, not you. You're the parent, you're bad. Also, our society.
The killing trans people thing should scare you because that is the goal of conservatives.
Should foment
Hi,
and
Jenny 12
forward the ability to give small children puberty blockers. Because once they hit puberty, after all, it might be really bad if little Jane grows breasts the way she was biologically designed to do.
Yeah, that would be bad, Ben. Forcing someone to go through a puberty they don't want is generally considered a bad thing.
So you have to puberty block kids. By the way, puberty blockers don't work on teenagers really because they've already hit their hormonal threshold. Puberty
That's not a thing. Hormonal threshold isn't a thing.
blockers are generally used before you hit puberty because they
Yeah, this is his normal talking speed.
block puberty. That is what they are called, puberty blockers. Here is Joe Biden, an 80-year-old man who is engaged in the worst sort of ideological perversion here.
God, he sounds horrible.
Onslaught of anti-transgender state laws
Oh no!
attacking
Joe!
you and your families. It's simply
Joe,
wrong.
no!
This administration is standing up for you against all
Caranola,
these
thank you for the 100
hateful
biddies.
bills. And we're committed to advancing transgender equality in the classroom, on the
Yo,
plane.
trans rights! Thank you for the $69.69 dono. Very much appreciate it. protect trans kids, please. I agree wholeheartedly. And folks, remember, type !charity in chat to donate. We are raising money for the Trans Empowerment Project, which is a wonderful, wonderful charity that works to provide direct aid to trans people. So every dollar of your dono goes directly to helping a trans person in need. Please show up so that we can spite these Weasley little fucks like Ben Shapiro.
Work in our military and our housing and healthcare systems everywhere, simply everywhere. Today, we're announcing even more steps.
Joe, take a
But
nap.
there's always more work to do.
Yeah, there is a lot more work to do, Joe. And this is what pisses me the fuck off, you know? Like, Joe Biden, he is doing more on Trans Day of Visibility than any previous president. Granted. But you could be using this time to apply pressure to the Senate to pass the Equality Act so that transgender people are federally protected explicitly under US law. Because we're not yet. But he's not going to do that. The things he's going to do are going to be things that another president could easily reverse, which is very disappointing.
And the epidemic of violence against transgender.
I mean, yeah, the standard is on the floor. It's just frustrating because the House has passed the Equality Act. It's the Senate that hasn't passed the Equality Act. And he could be leveraging a lot more power than he currently is. And it irritates me to hear these words when something so big and major could be passed. And instead they're going with executive orders to do similar things that are then, if he loses the next election, going to be reversed. The act that is right now passed in Germany. No, we're talking about the Equality Act in America. In the United States, there is an act that would protect transgender people called the Equality Act. It passed the House of Representatives, but the Senate hasn't brought it up for a vote, and it needs to pass the Senate in order to be signed into law, and it's just not ever going to be brought up for a vote. That's just kind of how it works. It sadly won't be him, maybe VP Harris. I don't think Kamala Harris has a shot at winning, and frankly, I don't think Joe Biden has a very good shot at winning either, because nothing has fundamentally changed, and people need change for the better. I'm hoping maybe AOC will run. She's the only person right now I can see who would actually have a shot at winning and might actually do something.
Women of color and girls of color. To ensure transgender seniors can age with dignity.
Oh yeah, Kira, 100%. But that's not cutting it anymore. The status quo is not enough for people anymore because quality of life has been consistently going down in America. We fucking lost like a year of like average life expectancy in America, and that's insane.
Dignity. And to finally pass a bipartisan Equality Act.
By the way, the Equality Act is wildly unconstitutional and essentially makes it illegal for you to disagree with people like Joe Biden on these particular issues.
Yeah, to be honest, like, I mean, I'm gonna be real with you. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. There's a reason the average age for like trans people is like in the 30s. It's because the rate of suicide in the trans community is ridiculously high. It's unfortunate, upcycled.
The amount of propaganda in that, I love it when Joe Biden doesn't even know what he's saying, so he just repeats the last word of a sentence. a sentence. It's always very inspiring. When he suggests that states everywhere are discriminating again, that there's an epidemic of abuse against transgender people and people of color and all the rest of this, that is not what the stats demonstrate.
Yeah, actually, the stats and research demonstrate that the reason trans people attempt suicide exponentially more than other groups of people is because of how they're treated, Ben. That is, the correlation is direct. Like, the difference between a member of the trans youth having, like, the support of their parents means the difference in, like, it means literally, like, life-saving amounts of difference. Like, a trans kid is something like 14 times more likely to attempt to take their life if they don't have supportive parents. If they just have one supportive parent, that number falls to below the suicidality of other teenagers.
Beyond that, the baseline notion that equality on the playing field is brought about by allowing boys to play with girls or girls to play with boys is insane.
Why? Like, honestly, why? Like, prior to puberty, there is effectively no athletic difference between boys and girls. Prior to puberty, there's, like, no athletic difference. Which, by the way, is why there was just the world... I think the word girl used to be an ungendered word. It was just a term used for children. Both boys and girls were called girls. But after puberty, you can make the argument, perhaps. But if a kid is on puberty blockers, well, they're not getting the athletic advantage of being a boy, right? So it would make sense to allow them to continue competing with the gender they identify with. And if they then transition with HRT around 15 or 16, well, then they're just going through one puberty, and effectively, yeah, it's a level playing field. The idea that these people can't wrap their head around this is always funny to me.
I can't... honestly, it's amazing to me that they've decided that they are going to run on this. That this is what they're going to run on. The complete rejection of biological reality. So then the White House also ushered out the best female Jeopardy champion of all time, biological male Amy Schneider, who's a dude. Because
a trans woman.
All the best women are male now. And Amy...
Ben Shapiro just coming out in support of femboys here. Look, I'm not saying Ben Shapiro has no interest in his wife and just trolls through the forums on like r/femboy, okay? But I'm also not saying he doesn't do that.
Schneider informed us that if you don't allow surgeries to take place on children that mutilate them and sterilize them, then you are endangering their lives, says a biological man who believes he is a woman and has been treated by the entire media
look, you guys might not like it, but to Ben Shapiro, this is what peak performance looks like, okay? You might not like it, but Ben Shapiro believes that this is the epitome of femininity, okay? Catboys are the future. Which is why I must take up the new political position. I will take up the new anti-femboy position to combat Ben Shapiro, okay? We must embrace being anti-catboy, okay? Which is why I have formally founded Moms Against Catboys. Macab, okay? Macabs. Macabs of the world unite. Is this a real shirt? It is a real shirt. It's on Etsy. It is real. Here's a link to it. There you go. Moms. Oh, that's a bad color. There we go. Moms Against Catboys. I think I'd go with like the white or the gray. Oh god.
Media as a woman, despite the fact that he is in fact a man.
You want to comment on the bills you've seen around the nation?
They're really scary, and some of them in particular that are denying medical services to trans youth. Those are life-saving medical treatments, and they will, these bills will cause the deaths of children, and that's really sad to me and is really frightening.
It'll cause the deaths of children if you don't give them hormone blockers.
Yes, Ben.
And
strangely enough, denying children medical care leads to worse outcomes for them.
And chop off their genitals and mutilate.
Also, no one is chopping off genitals and mutilating genitals, Ben. Though it is very interesting to hear Ben Shapiro coming out against genital mutilation when I'm pretty sure Ben Shapiro is pro circumcision? I'm pretty sure he's pro circumcision.
And sterilize them for life. That will cause their deaths. You see. Amazing medical knowledge there from our very, very female Jeopardy champion. Jen Psaki lamented that in Arizona, they have now banned transgender surgeries for minors. So here is Jen Psaki from the White House. She tweeted, quote, "Today, 4 extreme and harmful bills were signed into law in Oklahoma and Arizona, 3 targeting transgender youth, 2 in Arizona, 1 in Oklahoma, 1 reproductive health care law in Arizona. These laws are unacceptable. We won't stop fighting for justice and equality." Yes, because what we need is the facilitation of provision of testosterone to young girls who are confused about gender.
Fuck yeah, we do. Especially if those girls see multiple professionals who are like, actually, it does seem like your gender dysphoria is legitimate, and we prescribe you HRT. You know? Because you're actually a man. You know, it's kind of crazy, right? But actually trans kids can't undergo informed consent because they're kids, so they wind up being seen by medical professionals, multiple medical professionals, who then prescribe them medication for their problem, which is how doctors work.
Now, here is the thing. There's no real screening process for this sort of stuff. And Jen's...
There absolutely is. There absolutely is. You have to see 2 mental health professionals that specialize in child psychology. And then you also have to go see a general practitioner as well. Like, the idea that there aren't, like, screening processes for this is absurd in the extreme.
Talking in the White House know this. The number of people who are identifying as transgender has skyrocketed because it is a social contagion.
There are no studies that back up what he's saying here.
This is obvious from the poll.
Also, love that he's calling trans people a literal virus on society.
Polling data, it is obvious from the provision of medical healthcare services and everywhere from the United States to the UK. But the idea is that if you stand up to these lies, then this makes you a bigot.
Yeah, that is correct.
Amazed that they think this is a winning message.
Hey, Athena Nova.
It's amazing to me.
This is Ben Shapiro, an
Beto
idiot.
O'Rourke, who's running for the governor of Texas, and who apparently just wants to lose again so he can go back to eating dirt in New Mexico. Beto.
Wait, who's eating dirt in New Mexico?
Wore a shirt yesterday. And he wore the kind of shirt that's definitely going to win lots of votes in Texas. Brah. And his shirt said, "Don't mess with trans kids," with the Texas state flag.
I mean, this is objectively a terrible picture of Beto O'Rourke, but I do like his shirt.
Because that's winning argument, man. Don't mess with trans.
Wait, why is Ben Shapiro so mad? He's so mad. Well, Ben, if the kids are trans, does that mean you want to mess with them? Ben, are you trying to say you want to mess with trans kids? You're saying it's not a winning argument, Ben. So does that mean you're trying to say you want to get messy with trans kids? Because that's gross as fuck, dude.
Trans kids. It seems to me that you're messing with everyone's kids. This is not about quote unquote messing with trans kids. Okay, kids who have gender dysphoria should be given the greatest level of care.
Yeah. True. Just stop there. Stop there, Ben. We're in total agreement.
And medical evidence does not suggest that hormone blockers, puberty blockers, and transgender surgeries are the best level of care.
Incorrect on the first two. The last one, children are not being given surgeries. And if they are, they shouldn't be given surgeries.
That is not what the jury is very much out on that particular question, considering that the suicide attempt rates for people who have the surgeries is basically identical to people who don't have the surgeries.
He is incorrect, by the way. Overwhelmingly, 99% of people who get bottom surgery are overwhelmingly satisfied, especially if they reported significant genital dysphoria prior to it.
So that is very much in doubt. But
It is not.
what you guys want to do is you want to cram down on the rest of the American population your
Yeah, that's true, Ben. Joe Biden wants to forcibly trans your kids. That's exactly the end game here, Ben.
ideas
Good night,
about
Entrama.
gender. That's what this is really, really about. And then if we notice it's really bad, this is the game the left loves to play. They say stuff that is just crazy, extreme insanity. And then if you notice, then it's really, really bad. I hope.
We finished. We're done.